That doesn't look like fun.
No.
2 at a time.
That doesn't look good.
Yeah, I have a copy here. I printed one up over there because I wanted to read through it.
Oh, I didn't read it over there. I read it.
Probably don't need this. We do this one first.
See what's the general public.
So.
Where at? Standing up?
Nope. She's sitting in the second row on this next to the room.
Yeah.
She's quite. Mm-hmm. See a couple people from my PIO class.
Do you?
Mm-hmm. The one room
That's
over there. Sheriff's Department. Yeah.
today's date is.
The 27th.
Oh, really?
It's Wednesday,
Like the president
August
died.
27th.
The bigger they are, the harder they
Yeah.
hit.
Yeah, and then the first officer.
I already did that.
Was in too. He lives out by me. He said, yeah.
Corporal?
Yeah. I can't remember who to talk to. Super nice.
Do you have a clock?
I have
Do you
mine.
have your cell phone? Tell us what time it is.
It is 4:58.
4:58. Mine's
Mine's
look about right.
2 in Canada. Got some ambulance business going on here, it looks like. Welcome everybody to the it is Wednesday, the 27th, 2014. We're here to consider the 2015 budget for the ambulance district and the Canyon County, to adopt both budgets, the Canyon County operating budget as well. Present are setting as the Board of Canyon County Commissioners, Commissioner Hanson, Commissioner Alder, Commissioner Rule. A number of people are here today. We won't go into that at this time, but instead we'll open up the Canyon County Ambulance District budget meeting. Rob Hickey is here representing the ambulance district. Looks like Sean's with him. Rob, do you want to take us through your presentation real quick?
Certainly. Rob Hickey with Canyon County Ambulance District Director. There was a sign-up sheet for public testimony or questions, and also a green copy of our proposed FY 2015 budget, if anybody wanted a copy. And that's represented here on the screen. Chuck, are you picking up sound okay? Okay. A budget indicative 3.67%, 3% of a cost of living adjustment for wages, and the 0.67 is a benefit adjustment for medical health insurance and that type of thing. The capital expenses, the 8.27% increase. We're in the third cycle of a replacement phase for our vehicles, so that we have good operating ambulances to transport the folks. And the other portion of that, the significant portion of that, is a build out for a maintenance facility on existing property. We were able to hold the line on the fuel, and our repair and maintenance budget is up a bit just because we do have an aging fleet and we have to budget for that in case something breaks. Let's see, our revenue, our tax revenue, our projected tax revenue, our requested tax revenue is 1.9 million. And the bulk of our budget is made up of our user fees, which are significantly less than our neighbor, but they do exist. I guess at this time I'd ask for any questions regarding the budget.
Monica, is there anybody signed up to testify on the ambulance? Okay. Board, any questions of Rob?
No, I don't.
have any. Okay.
Mr. Chairman, at this particular time, we really are setting as the board of the ambulance district. And as such, as commissioners of the ambulance district, I'd make a motion that we adopt the proposed ambulance district budget for 2015. And they have here the L2 form, and that we sign that as well.
Second. Motion is second. Roll call, please.
Mr. Hanson?
Yes.
Mr. Alders?
Yes.
Yes. That budget is approved, and we'll sign those related documents.
We're supposed to squeeze this.
It's like, okay, that completes the ambulance district budget process. We will now open up the hearing to consider the adoption of the resolution, which would go into effect today if adopted. And this is the fiscal year 2015 budget hearing. Mr. Wagoner, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Before we get too involved in the 2015 budget, I've been asked to provide an overview, an update on how we're doing in fiscal year 2014. It's important that we remember that a budget is a plan. It's a plan for how monies will be spent, and it's also a plan for where those monies will come from. And it's imperative that throughout the year we monitor actuals, both on the revenue and the expenditure side. And I am pleased to report that financially, fiscal year 2014 is going extremely well. Revenues are coming in better than what was anticipated, and in multiple areas. Our development services revenue is higher than it was last year. Our sales tax revenue from the state is up once again over $300,000. And on the spending side, spending is as anticipated, and in some instances even better than what was anticipated. So I appreciate and recognize the frugality of the elected officials and the department administrators who make that happen. Now, September is a big month for us. We will receive our last quarterly payment for sales tax. Also, we pay quite a few bills in September due to the fact that we leave the books open until early November to pay September invoices. But I am projecting for our governmental funds a positive net income of $2 million for fiscal year 2014. And I'm pleased to report that that hopefully will occur even after a $1.5 million property tax reduction for 2014. That would bring our governmental fund balance total to $37 million. It's important to understand that that $37 million is a total number. It includes all of our governmental funds, our indigent fund, our emergency communications fund. Those are all included in that total. So that $37 million is not freely available to spend in any way we see fit. It has to be spent on a fund-by-fund basis in accordance with the outlines and guidelines for how those monies can be used. But at $37 million, we are in a very strong financial position.
Mr. Chairman,
Commissioner Alder.
I want to thank Zach for that presentation and for doing that. I had made that request earlier on this week to find out where we were going to be at the end of 2014. And because of the fact that the departments have been very frugal, and I honestly believe that budgets at this point in time for the county really reflect what they actually need in order to be successful in the responsibilities that each department has. And also because of the increases in sales tax and the fact that we're bringing in other monies besides property taxes, then I think I'd just like to note for our employees that Friday on our agenda there will be a vote of the commissioners to give a 2014 bonus of $1,000 per employee who has not had disciplinary probation throughout the year, and that will be given to the department heads and to the elected officials to determine that. But that will be a vote of the commissioners on Friday morning. So just so you know, that may not occur every year, but because of where we are financially this year, it is really good. And the fact that we have had major projects, for example, you're standing in this building, and that's been a major project. Next year, there's major projects that's going to go forward, and one is the remodel of a very old building, which things may not look as good at the end of 2015 just because of the remodel and what we may or may not find behind the walls. So this shouldn't be something that's anticipated every year, but certainly something that we would like to give to our employees and give you a thank you for good work, and thanks for being responsible with the money that we have. It's what we plan to do. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Commissioner. Zach, you want to move into 215?
Yes, let's move into 215. The first slide we're looking at here shows the property taxes levied by Canyon County over the course of time from fiscal year 2008 to fiscal year 2015. And I'm pleased to report that we are scheduled to levy less dollars in property tax in 2015 than we did in 2008. This chart shows the property taxes levied by fund. property taxes are levied at the fund level, and the county operates multiple funds. And it is, I think, interesting to note, for example, on the indigent fund, back in 2008, we levied $581,000 for indigent services. That's an area where we've seen costs increase over time. We have statutory responsibilities that must be met. And in 2013, we levied nearly $4 million for indigent services. We now have a strong, healthy fund balance in the indigent fund, and we've been able to back off the levy in that fund the past 2 years. According to Idaho Code, there is a formula to calculate the maximum allowable property tax. That includes an amount of 3%, an inflationary factor. It also includes a factor for new growth, new construction, and also includes any foregone amount, any increases that have not been used in previous years. So Canyon County has the statutory authority and the potential to levy over $47 million in property tax for 2015. If we levy $34.3 million, we're nearly $13 million under our potential levy authority. So that's $13 million that we're leaving in the local economy, that we're leaving in taxpayers' pockets. The 2015 budget is $5.5 million higher than the 2014 expenditure budget. And on page 5, we provide some highlights, overview, a high level of that $5.5 million. There are 11 new or previously unfunded positions in the 2015 budget. There are $939,000 for startup costs and additional budget to bring the Public Defender's Office in-house. Landfill, they have some capital acquisitions scheduled, and the level of activity is up at the landfill, so we've got an additional $531,000 budgeted there. We have an additional $1 million budgeted for the employer's contribution to the health insurance fund. And also $1.8 million budgeted for increased salaries and benefits tied to the salary adjustment study. And $500,000 for other miscellaneous operating increases. Total budget increase on the expenditure side of $5.5 million. The next page shows the budget by function, and we've grouped that by culture and recreation, by public works, public safety, health and welfare, and general government services. And the largest percentage there is dedicated to public safety. Nearly 50% of what's budgeted is dedicated to public safety. And the next page shows a pie chart breaking out the budget by function. The next page, we begin looking at the budget by office or department, and we have a comparison there between 2014 budget and the 2015 budget. There's an increase in the building and grounds budget of roughly $800,000, and that is for capital projects. As Commissioner Alder mentioned, a remodel of the courthouse across the street and a new roof on the courthouse. Those funds are included in the building and grounds budget. Those funds were largely budgeted in 2014. did not use the county funds in 2014, but we anticipate using the county funds in 2015. On the next page, there's a change in the emergency management budget. In 2014, that budget was a little over $100,000. There's an increase there to $364,000 for 2015. And that increase is due to a change in how the state will handle payments for equipment, etc., related to Homeland Security. In 2014, the state paid those bills directly. Beginning in 2015, the county will make those payments, and then we will be reimbursed through a grant process. There's an increase on the expenditure side, also an increase on the revenue side, for ultimately a net zero to the county. There's a decrease in the juvenile probation budget. That is due to, in fiscal year 2014, we completed the Juvenile Justice Center, used the lottery tax proceeds from the Juvenile Probation Department, and that building is now complete. Those funds have been expended. I touched briefly earlier on the landfill, the increase in the budget there. There are some significant capital purchases that will occur. A scraper is scheduled to be purchased. Also some portable fencing and some asphalt work that will be done at the landfill. That's why we have the increase there. In the prosecutor's office, the majority of the increase is on the salary and benefits side. There were 3 new positions added to the prosecutor's budget for 2015. And a public defender, we touched on that earlier, bringing that in-house. There are some startup costs that will be associated with that. The budget for 2015 for the public defender is just over $3.3 million. On the sheriff's budget, related to new buildings being constructed, more courtrooms being added, there's been an increase of 5 positions for 2015 in the sheriff's budget. Next page shows where the money comes from to make all this happen. Our largest source of funding is from property tax. 43% of the funding does come from property tax, followed by fund balance, and then our charges for service and our intergovernmental revenues. That would be any grants, our sales tax. That makes up almost $12 million of our funding. And the final page is a copy of the budget, the projected fund balance at the end of this year, projected fund balance at the end of 2015, the anticipated revenue for 2015, and the property tax dollars. Also included on this page are 2 special taxing districts, the Pest Control District and the Melba Gopher District. Those districts do not cover the entirety of Canyon County. That's why they're broke out and shown separately there. We will be adopting those budgets as well tonight. It's I wanted to show those separately because they do not impact every Canyon County property taxpayer. Mr. Chairman, that is my presentation.
Okay, thank you very much, Zach. Commissioners, any questions for Zach concerning his presentation?
Mr. Chairman, I did want to make mention, I think there's some people from the historical societies here. I just wanted to quickly go down how that money was going to be divided out, the $90,500.
Okay.
Okay.
All right, before we do that, can I ask Zach one question I had on this budget before we move past it? And Zach, in preliminary meetings, the difference between 214 and 215, it's almost insignificant, but I thought it was 2.155 difference or something like that. Now I see it's really 2.392 basically. There's a slight change there, or did I miss something earlier?
I'm sorry, which page are we?
Page 2, the total numbers between the 214 and 215 budget, it went down, and for some reason I thought it was a little bit less than the amount shown. Did anything change the past week or two?
No.
Okay. I missed something earlier, thanks. Okay, Commissioner Alder, your question about the historical.
I was just going to announce the Friends of the Nampa Library is $3,295. Wilder Community Museum, $10,000. Canyon County Historical Society, $13,000. Caldwell Historical Society, $13,000. Melba Valley Historical Society, $10,000. College of Western Idaho Foundation, $52.25, and that's not $52.25. It's $5,225. Caldwell Veterans Memorial Hall, $13,000. Greenleaf Historical Society, $1,980. The City of Middleton, their museum is $10,000, and the American Legion Chateau, which is in Nampa, $11,000. Just so people are aware, this was the recommendation of the Historic Preservation Committee, and we're adopting it.
Any questions about that portion of today's meeting? Okay, very good. Let's see. I think it would, the commissioners have asked that. Well, first of all, a little foundation. For those of you that go through each department, you'll see almost every department, of course, is up. The general budget's up about $5 million this year. And many people are going to, in the public, are going to wonder why these increases. So, Zach, you want to explain a little bit, or should we just bring Janine up to talk about salary adjustment? I think that smile means bring Janine up. Is that what you?
I think so.
Okay. Janine, would you take a few minutes and talk about why almost every department had a change and how salary adjustment affected that?
Why don't you be on the microphone for you?
Something.
Yeah, if you just turn that podium around if you would.
This is good right here.
There we go.
I can make it work. Are the ambulance, they're good. Okay. My name's Janine Iband. I'm the Director of HR for Canyon County. Earlier this year in late March, I was asked by the Canyon County Board of Commissioners to assess our current county positions and salaries to determine two things. First, if position starting wages were at an appropriate amount based on market, and second, to address issues of internal compression and equalization. To accomplish this task, my office conducted a job analysis of every county position. We collected market data from relevant sources and interviewed elected officials, department administrators, and other managers and supervisors about job duties and input on salary levels. To complete the job analysis portion, my staff completed job analysis forms for every county position using information from current job descriptions. Those analysis forms were then sent to the administration who supervised those positions. Administration from each elected office was tasked with reviewing the forms, updating job duties as appropriate, and interviewing their own staff members to ensure accuracy of job duties. Those forms were then returned to the HR office at the end of April and beginning of May. Using those forms, I created a large-scale job comparison matrix that allowed me to more accurately classify similar or like positions across the county internally. This accomplished internal equity. Face-to-face meetings with administrators were conducted in mid-May so that elected officials and his or her designees could offer input on the classifications and assignments. Some changes were made according to this feedback, and further meetings were held. At the same time the job analysis was conducted, other HR staff collected salary survey information from relevant sources, such as the cities of Nampa, Caldwell, and Boise, Ada, Owyhee, Payette, and Jim counties, as well as the state of Idaho and several other industry-specific sources. This data was used to determine appropriate starting wages for county positions. Using this information, 3 new salary grade charts were created, 1 each for non-exempt employees, 1 for exempt employees, and 1 for law enforcement. These charts were disseminated to all elected official offices for review and discussion. Further meetings were then held on those in the month of June. It is important to remember that the purpose of this compensation analysis project did not at any time reference current performance of any employees. It was only for the purpose of determining new salary ranges appropriate to market and for internal equalization of positions. I believe that these new ranges put county employees and their positions in a more appropriate salary range than they are currently. Every effort was made to include elected officials, department heads, and management staff in this process. The feedback I received from these individuals during the course of this project was very positive and supportive. The final project was presented to the commissioners and elected officials on June 17th. It has undergone additional changes since that time based on new and updated information and further editing. It is my department's goal to continue aging this information every year so that county positions remain at appropriate starting market levels. I would also like to offer my sincere gratitude to my staff, all the elected officials, department heads, and administrators for your support and participation in this important project. Thank you.
Thank you, Janine. Appreciate that. Okay,
Mr. Chairman,
Commissioner Elder.
just to add to this, at the very beginning, when we were going to talk about doing the budget for 2015, all the elected officials met together and we determined what direction to go this year. And what everybody at that table agreed to was the market adjustment, that it was very important that this analysis take place so that Canyon County was being brought up to where it needed to be, and that there needed to be equalization for equal jobs that you are doing throughout the county, so that because we had a lot of inequities, and part of that is due to merit pay that has gone on for years and years and years in this county, that is left up strictly to department heads and elected officials. And it did present some inequities. I appreciate Janine making it very clear, this is not based on performance. This is based on where you need to be according to the market, according to job descriptions. And I think job descriptions also got updated and changed because some of you are actually doing other things than what you were hired to do. And so it made some changes in that as well. And so I think this is probably the first time that this county has taken on such a major project. And I appreciate the fact that this is something that is going to be ongoing, that we want to continue to look at this and what do we need to do. And so I think this is why this happened this particular year. All the elected officials agreed to it. And so it wasn't a matter of just this board saying this is what we're going to do. Everybody sat at that table and agreed that we want to do the market adjustment for this year, and their input was put into it. So I think it brings us to some equalization. That doesn't mean that's the way it's going to stay forever. I'm sure as time goes on, you will be receiving, unless something tragic, we all get ran over by Friday and are not able to do the $1,000 bonus, but you also got that last year, which is pretty significant compared to other entities and municipalities. So we do appreciate everything you do. You're wonderful employees. We want to keep you here, and we want to do what we can to make this equitable and make the adjustments that we need to moving forward.
Commissioner Hanson, anything to add? Okay.
Commissioner Elvis said it.
All right. We'll move into the public testimony portion of this budget hearing then. Monica, we're going to give each person 3 minutes to.
We've had another name.
You can come forward. And welcome to ask questions of the board or the controller. Any questions about the budget? You're more than welcome to address the board in that fashion. So the first name is Michelle Chadwick.
Good evening, Michelle Chadwick,
Sorry, Michelle.
111 North 11th, Suite 340. As a past commissioner, I appreciate the difficult job you have before you. I understand the obligations, duties, and responsibilities that it takes to be a commissioner. It's a very difficult job, and I commend each of you for putting your name on a ballot and running for office. It's something that not a lot of people do, and I appreciate that you've been willing to do that. That said, today was a very difficult day for me and for my staff. I understand the difference between public information and public documents. We each have a responsibility to care for and be very transparent in the records that we have. But we also know that there's a confidentiality that we keep. There are documents that we keep. It's public information, it's a public document, but we don't go out to the coffee shop and talk about what other people make. It's just not something that, in my opinion, is ethical. And today was a very, very challenging day as a result. There are many questions that I have about the market analysis and was not ever given an opportunity to ask. And so I respectfully would request that all of the information that was gathered be made available to all elected officials and department heads as it relates to our particular departments, and then also as it relates to the other departments. I would also respectfully request that all of the employees, anyone that is receiving compensation from Canyon County, be included in that, as I understand that there are some that have been excluded from that list. I do believe within my own department that there are some errors. There's some significant errors in the salaries. And so I would respectfully request an opportunity to make some corrections as the department head. I first got to review them this morning on the Canyon County website, which was unfortunate because I didn't have an opportunity to clarify some of those problems and questions. And so I would respectfully request an opportunity to do that. I believe that there are some that will need to have an additional increase in salary. And because I believe that the commissioners in the past have done a very good job, along with the controller and the clerk, in being frugal with our dollars, I know that the fund balances are such that there may be an opportunity for some of those funds to come from that. So with that, I thank you for your time.
Okay, I think the question is, can we provide that information? And we'll do everything we possibly can to get that information out.
Sure.
So the answer is yes. Next, a name is it Mary Gomez? Mary, come on up, please. Would you put your address on the record as well as your name, please?
I will. My name is Mary Gomez. My address is 3915 South Kimball. I basically had some questions, and I think most of them have been answered. And hoping that the last speaker that spoke, we are able to provide that information to the head, to each department head. Basically, I guess at this point, the only thing I'd like to say is that you take in consideration, you mentioned, Commissioner Alder, that it's based, this analysis, part of the analysis is based on job description. And I just feel that right now it is unfair to reward someone that has been there in the position for a shorter period of time than those dedicated employees that with tenure in certain positions. Sorry, I'm a little nervous. And those who take on extra duties. I basically wanted to know how this formula was reached. Some of it was answered, but I'm hoping again that some of that information is passed on to get a little bit more clarification. And further, we're not just Canyon County employees, we're also taxpayers that fund this budget as well. So we would really like for you guys to consider that. That's it.
Thank you very much, Mary. Kelly Brassfield. Would you put your name and address on the record, please, Kelly?
Yes.
Thank you.
My name is Callie Brassfield, address 111 North 11th, Suite 340, Indigent Services. Most of my questions were answered, except for I just wanted to ask a little bit more about, obviously it was a job audit on the salaries, but I wondered if there is any more changes to come. Will the job performance or the length of stay or length of employment be considered before their final? Or, the education and experience as well. Will those be considered before their final?
In answer to that, the market analysis and survey that went out, it's important that everybody understands that's the proposed.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
So nothing's, as far as this board member is concerned, nothing's defined or set yet as far as that portion of the market analysis goes. Those are proposed numbers. Commissioner Hanson or Alder?
I think that the disclaimer was on that. I hope everybody read that at the beginning, and there was no guarantee one way or the other that this is what it was going to be. This is proposed. But I have to tell you, this is what we have. When you do a budget, that's $1.8 million that we have set aside for benefits and salaries for the people within this county. And that money, we can't increase the budget. Now, your boss or you may want to analyze, and there may be some adjustments made, but that's up to that point in time. We're just saying, this is what came out of the analysis. This is an opportunity for you to look at it. This is an opportunity to compare, let's see, what'd you do in 2012? There was money out to 2012. There was money given for merit pay in 2013, and now, or 2013, 2014, and now here's 2015. So I think you have to look at the merit situation too, who got what during merits, because that had nothing to do with us. That's all up to department heads and other elected officials and the people, directly under them too. So there's things to compare when you do that, but the disclaimer is on there.
I understand it was projected. I was just curious
Yes.
so we'll have the opportunity with our departments to adjust them.
Department
accordingly.
heads and elected
And
officials,
elected
but they need to keep it within the money that's been.
Absolutely.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you.
Mr. Chair, I think the only thing I'd add to that is that was what, when they did that analysis, when the market adjustment was put out there, that's what the numbers came out to.
Sure.
That's where, to put everybody, trying to put it on an even playing field, that's what the numbers came to. It wasn't merit-based. There is one big issue with merit pay, is that unless there is an accurate documentation of employee performance that is done at least annually and specifically, which puts people into categories and defines how they deserve a merit increase. If that does not come through, if that's not happening, then how are we determining that that person is worthy of a merit pay? How are those elected officials, department heads, administrators, how is anybody doing that? And that is an important part of what a merit pay increase is.
Mm-hmm.
I believe there's some problems with the way that the merit pay went out last year, and that was one of the concerns that was voiced in the process of determining this budget with the elected officials and department heads, and that is something that needs to be looked at and considered. If people are willing to do those kinds of things, then merit pay may be something that works well, but if people, administrators are not willing to do that, then it's who do you like best?
Sure, I understand.
Did we get your question answered adequately?
I believe so.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, Sid Freeman. Sid, name and address, please.
Sid Freeman, 27406 Farmway Road, Caldwell. I guess the question I have, commissioners, is the decision on the reserve funds that were in the fund balance, is that already been taken care of and we can not address that at this hearing? Is that, because we're looking at a tentative budget as per what you guys decided on the reserve funds in the fund balance. Are those funds already been decided on, how they're going to be used? Can I address those? Is it appropriate to address that issue here
How
now?
they're used, how they will be used, is that the question?
Have you made a decision on how them are going to be used? Do they play into how this tentative budget is going to be brought forth?
At this point, there's been no decisions by this board on how the fund balances will be used, other than a portion, and Zach can jump in here, tell us what that portion is held in reserve for operating capital going into that proverbial fifth quarter when the county really doesn't have revenue, and uses that to carry through until the December taxes fire up.
So if I may proceed, what I would like to talk about is the motion that was made by Commissioner Alder to reduce the levy by $5 million as opposed to $2 million back to the taxpayers of this county. I really believe the taxpayers of this county deserve that large of a decrease in their levy. Moving forward from this time forth, we know property values are going up. We know a $2 million levy decrease is not going to show up on anybody's taxes in this county when it's spread out over the county with larger property values. And I, as a taxpayer and, as a taxpayer, I'm very, very concerned about that. I apologize for not being dressed up to come down here. I got off my tractor and got here as soon as I could. I am working. I am working to pay my overhead. And that overhead includes my property taxes, commissioners. You have an opportunity here to prove your worthiness to the taxpayers. And I would like to see you do that in granting Commissioner Alder's wishes. I believe it's incredibly important. And then move forward with the budget, tentative budget, with that in mind. And I also believe that we need to give some respect to our employees as well of the county, and I see that you're doing that with this survey. And with that, I'll
Mr. Chair.
be done.
Commissioner Hanson.
He's finished then, yeah.
Timing's good, Sid.
Mr. Freeman, thank you for coming and talking to the commissioners tonight. What I would say with that is that I appreciated Commissioner Alder's position on the $5 million as opposed to the $2 million that Commissioner Rule and I agreed on in the initial aspects of budgeting this year. Some of the things that are important for us to really look at is that we do not know where our economy is going. We think that we are done with recession. Well, the economists that I listen to and talk to don't tell me that we could face another recession. There are still plenty of unknowns out there that we aren't stable yet. That's one of the things. The second thing is that when we look at our health care fund for the employees of Canyon County, it's on a steady decrease and decline in the fund balance to the point where we think we can make it through this year, but there may be a dramatic issue with it next year. And with the onset of Obamacare, which has caused multiple entities, multiple problems, including us at 750 employees, there's a penalty tax or fee that can go on to that if we choose not to have health care benefits, and that's not my suggestion. It actually came from another individual in the county who has the power over the monies, or at least the authority to manage those things. When we're looking at those things, that fund balance that is there, whether it's 12 million, 5 million, we're taking 2 million and giving it back, so it's down to 10 million. It's kind of in that aura of range. We have to consider those things with regard to what we're going to be doing next year when we start looking at that. We need to look at, last year the trustees came up with a plan to raise the deductible and also in looking at what was going on with other things concerning a healthcare plan. So that's just one aspect in planning forward and trying to determine what funds we're going to have available when we make those decisions. Again, this year, my decision and the board agreed that we wouldn't do anything specifically with that healthcare fund. We wanted to see where it was going and what was going to happen, because we've changed it now for the past 2 years. And last year was when they changed the plan of Canyon County. And we need to maintain and watch what that does. It may continue to go downward with that fund balance. And that's just one specific one. So I wanted to assure you that I'm a Canyon County taxpayer as well, and I live in Nampa, so you can understand how concerned I am about taxes with what I'm paying over there, with the decisions that were made in the past over taking the foregone funds, taking the 3% increase every year, even during the time of recession, complete recession, when the county was doing its best to be conservative, and put us in a good position now with planning of elected officials, and including the expertise coming out of the Controller's office and those things. So I just think that that's an important factor on one side. And we got 750 employees that we don't want to have them lose their insurance. And I know that my wife works for Nampa School District. She pays a portion of her premium out of her salary that she gets. I believe that Nampa Police pay that same kind of a premium of some kind of whatever they have. There's various things, so we've got to look at those. That's just one part of it. But I do concur with you. Yes.
May I very quickly respond?
Please.
I appreciate your comments, Commissioner. You have professional finance officers of this county and an elected clerk, and they gave you, I feel, very solid information on their recommendations. And I think that to eliminate some of the stress on you guys, maybe have a little faith in their judgment.
Mr. Freeman, I will address that now. The clerk's come with about 3 or 4 different plans. At one point, it was to give the whole $15 million back that was said there. At one point, there wasn't going to be any money to do things. When I campaigned and this building was being considered, and looking at that, there was a point that comments were made that there wasn't going to be any money in the books if this building went up. And then all of a sudden, we got a $15 million windfall. So I do respect the clerk's office. I do respect Zach Wagoner as a comptroller. I do respect all those things. But when I can't get accurate information from year to year or even month to month on how much is going to actually be there, that causes me a concern as well in watching those things. So, and those are on record. If you want to go back through the history and listen to those statements, they're on record. At one point, I was also getting information that we couldn't go out more than 3 years, and now we've got a 5-year plan that was presented to the board to consider for the budget for this year. All those things are important, and I'm not trying to discredit them, but you brought the subject up, so there's things that go into play that you aren't every day a part of those meetings and every day a part of what's going on.
No, I'm not, but I am out there working every day.
And you know what, sir? I am glad to hear that, because I'm out there working too.
Mr. Freeman, I'll try and address your question a little bit myself. Lots of ways to skin a cat, and my philosophy was, rather than give it back in one big chunk or 2 or 3 large chunks, to just start giving it back a little bit slower, because we do have, in my opinion, issues to face in the future. Jail issues, insurance issues, economy issues. We really don't have any crystal ball that nailed that for us. So I took a little bit more conservative approach than a $5 million number, and it was just, with me, it's just as simple as that. So, but thank you for your questions and being here today. And there is no dress code. You're good.
Thank you.
All right.
Appreciate it.
Next person signed up, Thomas Stafford. Come on up, Thomas. Name and address, please.
Tom Stafford, 1603 Boise Avenue, Colwell, Idaho. I'm here to try to make sure that the sheriff's office gets an increase in their budget. It's a big problem, like you said, with people leaving, so on and so forth. I'm gonna bring up a sore subject. We need the new jail. This patch that was offered to them for $13 million on site is not gonna do it. You could take the $13 million and start to build it off site, and that would be able to expand slowly. This over here talking about is no good. Like this building right here, I call this the Watt building. This is the wasted tax dollar building. I find what it is the inability for this council to work with the sheriff's office. As per this email I received from Mr. Rule, that says the problem isn't money, it's his ability to manage people when you're talking about Sheriff Donahue. He's a poor administrator crying for more money for his division to cover up dozens of employees leaving and many he has fired because they're sick of his bullying tactics. Sounds like your bullying tactics. So you offer to build a 200-bed jail right nearby. That's a waste. It's not going to do anything. The ACL's going to come back in and take more money on their lawsuits again. You'll be paying them. The sheriff's office needs the money. They got to have the money. You can't keep having them leaving. They are leaving not because of Donahue. They're leaving because they're not getting paid. They're making the money, same type of money I made in 1985 as an electrician. That's shameful. And as for the 12% increase in their budget for the past 2 years, that's normal. There's 6% for each year. That's just about right. But you need more money. You got to have more sheriffs. The jail is a mess. I know a lot of people work for the jail. I went through it. The television media and everything else, they show you nice pictures of the empty cells. Well, that's where a lot of them are out on work release or they're in the court. So it looks like it's empty. I know it's not empty. The jail needs to be rethought up again and start with the $13 million you were talking about to build a 200-bed jail and start that with a new jail off-site. You got to pay your people. They need the money or they're going to leave and find more money some other place. You pay for their training. People will understand that, what is it, $68,000 to train a deputy? Okay, that money, people think, well, yeah, you shell that out. No, that's all the stuff they have to go through under a field training officer to learn the ways of the deputy sheriff's office. So, here's the income, or their payment for working, and the FTO payment. So we need to do something about the budget for the sheriff's office. I'd like to see an increase, please. And also, I would like to see from you, Mr. Rule, an apology to me and to Mr. Donahue for this letter.
Your time's up, partner.
Pardon?
Your time's up. You got a question?
Do you have a copy of it?
Sure, I got it.
Yeah, I want you to apologize to Donahue and me for this scathing record.
Okay.
Take a look.
Yeah, no, I'll stand on my statements. I got no problem at all. And as for your 13 million, if we go out there in the freeway exit and start building a $40-50 million facility, 13 million, it maybe get just up past the foundation. So unless there's bonded money or money for the rest of it, I won't be voting for that.
You say $13 million and you can build a 200-bed facility. Now you're saying it only builds a foundation out here.
Well,
I don't understand.
There's a lot of difference between a several hundred person facility and a 200. So
you can start out small and work up to it. But I'd like to.
Well, you and I
disagree
disagree
for this letter. You turned around and said,
"I'm not apologizing," and you and I disagree.
If you wanted to meet with me, if I wanted to meet with you personally, that we could.
I invited you in.
I was afraid to be in the same room alone with you, sir, because of this. This is why I'm glad I'm standing with the sheriff back
there. Sir, your time is up. Your time is up. Step in now. Thank you.
Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Okay. Next person, Bobby Joe Brown. Name and address, please.
Bobby Joe Brown, 111 North 11th Avenue, Suite 330. I work here. I'm a supervisor of the Recorders and Passports Office, and I'm very proud to work for Canyon County. I am also nervous. My heart was pounding thinking I was going to get up here, but that's okay. So I am very, very happy to be a part of this and a part of the group and all the elected officials. And before I start, as a person who works for Canyon County, is very proud and sees all of you guys out, even away from here, I would like to think that everybody takes as much pride in working for Canyon County. Obviously, none of us will be millionaires working for Canyon County. We do it because we like what we do. We do it because we like the customer service, and we usually like who we work with, hopefully. So before I start with my question, I would like to ask that, and a good example is set among the elected officials in getting along and finding solutions. And maybe things need to be said behind closed doors and not out and about. But my first question, please, is as a supervisor, I would like to know why the salaries were not, the tentative salaries were not ran past us first, so that we could at least forewarn or talk to our employees about it. I know it's tentative, but just to give them a view of what's possibly would be coming. And then I don't know that if people want their salaries. I know that people are curious about other people's salaries. They might want to know what other people make. So they, in the past, have been allowed to request that. I can't understand why it was put on the website. If you could explain that to me, I would appreciate it. Also, at least why there was not a warning to the rest of us who kind of are private about some things. You know, maybe we didn't want our neighbor to know, or if our neighbor is going to find out, or the state of Colorado, or whoever decides to go on Canyon County website, why we couldn't have just been giving a warning. I think if we would have just been respectfully given a warning, a lot of us wouldn't have been hit so blindsidedly.
I can address that.
Commissioner Hanson?
It's a public record. Everybody who works for a public entity, their salaries are public knowledge, public record. Everybody has access to them. Anybody who wants access to them can get it. That's the bottom line.
That's true.
Check
and
with
that's
legal.
what I acknowledged.
Legal department for Canyon County, the Canyon County Prosecutor's Office said that it was not a violation of any law. It was actually the taxpayers' right to have those records.
Okay, and I agree with that. That's why the request has always been in the past. But just as a team, just as a team, just forget about all the legalities and all that kind of stuff. Just a respectful, hey guys, this is coming out tomorrow. Just thought I'd let you know. Why couldn't that have just been put out there?
I guess, Bobby Joe, I'll try and help a little bit here, and I won't answer your question perfectly, but again, in our view, it's public information anyway, and we're trying to be more transparent. The past 3, 4, 5 years, the board has worked diligently to not be the behind the meeting room, backdoor policy type commissioners that may have been here years and years past. So that's what we're shooting for there. Now, where do I draw the line as chairman, or any of the commissioners draw the line on what business, any information we release at all? How many employees do we run it by before we release it? We have a PIO, we have attorneys. They were all in the loop. I just don't think in the future you'll see any commissioners running every piece of information they release past all the department heads or other elected officials. That's all I got for you, Bobby Joe.
In just response, Mr. Chairman, also, I am hoping most people are not unhappy with this. I am hoping most people are looking at this and saying, wow, you know what, this is great. Or thank you for considering a $1,000 bonus again this year instead of being critical. Sure, it came as a surprise. I've looked at this. If you were Idaho Freedom, whatever, it's on there too. I mean, it may not be the suggested one, but this is what we're approving, quite frankly, today, is this $1.8 million that this adds up to. And we did this based on information that we brought, that we did the analysis. This isn't a surprise to any elected official. They were well aware that this was going forward, that talk to everybody about the fact this is what we're looking at. This is where you would be in this range. I'm sure some of the people didn't get as much, and maybe it was minor. But the fact is they're in their group, and they're where they should be based on perhaps the number of years and what are you doing. And maybe you need to look at this and upgrade what some of your people are doing if you're unhappy with that. It really, I don't think we should be unhappy or disgusted. This is really what it is. This is what the salaries are.
And I'm not,
Did we
it
answer
doesn't
your
have,
question?
no, not really.
Okay.
I'm not,
Give you
it
another
doesn't have anything to
shot
do with
here.
the amount of salaries. It has to do with
The question. Give us the question.
the fact that it's out there and the amount. Everybody, did you consider the interpersonal? Because we've had people crying in bathrooms today because they're comparing. And okay, there's not a question then, because I don't think you're going to answer it. If you would just consider letting people know that you're going to put their salary out there before you do it next time,
Okay.
I think it would be appreciated by most of your staff.
Thanks, Bobby Joe. Duly noted. Next person signed up is Janine Iband.
I just wanted to clarify. I just wanted to clarify a couple of things on the compensation project from the questions that have been asked. It is true that certificates, experience level, experience at prior places was not considered in this part. When I say that the compensation project, the goal was market analysis only, it was only market analysis. And so with the input and feedback from your supervisors and your department heads about which category you should be placed in and which classification, that is how it was determined. I wish that Michelle Chadwick were still here. We do a lot of meetings, and we have a lot of meetings, and I don't blame her for not remembering, but on June 6th, I met with her, and every department head, including Michelle and Bobby Joe, your boss, because it was the bosses that determined who was involved in this process, but everybody was given complete spreadsheets with all the formulas and numbers in it. Every detail, it's been transparent. They've had them. They've had multiple copies of them because I've sent them to them. And we've gone through revisions as we've gone back and forth on these. So, I feel badly if staff weren't as aware, but I know as an HR director, it's not my job to communicate that to you. It's going to be up your chain of command. And so I would challenge any director or EO to say that they've not been involved in this process, because I have all the meeting times on my calendars. They have all been involved from the beginning, and they've had copies of all the exact information that was posted online today.
All right, thank you. Next person, Brad Jackson. Name and address, and what's your budget question, Brad?
Brad Jackson, 1518 Idaho. It's been widely publicized, might be a way to say it, that the board doesn't like to be surprised. And I think I don't need to say any more than that, because everybody in the room knows what I'm talking about. I don't think anybody likes to be surprised. So while no one, I believe, in this room has any issue with the fact that those are public records and they are searchable, there's a difference between them being available if someone chooses to go out and look for them and just putting everything out there. In the recorder's office, we have every record we have is a public record. We don't post it on our website. So I think the question that I would have to you is, why did you not give elected officials and your own department heads an opportunity? Why did it have to be so urgent that it had to be done on such a short time frame without any opportunity for the managers that work for you, that work for the elected officials, to manage this?
I can answer that.
Commissioner Hanson?
The request went out to get this project done a couple of weeks ago. For whatever reason, we didn't get all the process in place. It didn't happen, and didn't have the data until put together until today when it was released. It actually came in last night with everything that was put together, developing the spreadsheet and putting it on the file. That is why it went out today as it did. And the aspect of individuals questioning what they were getting and telling me they were getting this, so some people already had information and knew about it. And so that was why that happened the way that it did, Brad.
But it had to be done today?
This is when the budget meeting was, and it needed to be out there for everybody to see.
And
what
how
was
does
going
it
to.
change the budget meeting? How does having that
Because then
salary
people had-
information available by name, how does that change the budget process?
They'll answer this question because then everybody had it before the meeting. Before this meeting, everybody had access to it today.
And by everybody, you mean
Everybody had
managers
access to it
or
today.
every employee?
Every employee.
Because every employee didn't.
Every
We were
taxpayer.
told not by HR not to share 2015 information. It would be foolish for us until there's a final budget.
It's been shared now.
It has been
And
there.
everybody has their opinion. Thank you very much, sir.
Denise Kennel. Address 2, please, Denise.
Denise Kennel, 1115 Albany, Court Operations. So my question is, putting that out there on the website, if you want to be transparent, I want to know why not everybody's on that list. You're not on it.
I make $82,000. That was established
Understand.
already, and that's there.
I'll try and answer that for
And
you,
there's other
Denise.
people that aren't on it, not just,
I'm unaware of any omissions on the list except the elected officials, department heads. When that came out, I went back to HR and I said, it's important that we get everybody out on this. Would you please put that information? And I haven't seen it yet, but it's been requested by the board to release that.
that was my
Absolutely. And deputies as well. The chief deputies as well should have been, we wanted that out as well.
That was my question. Thank you.
Okay,
Yeah.
thank you.
It's a good one.
All right, anyone else signed in to testify? Okay, that will be the end of the public testimony portion of this hearing. Commissioners?
Mr. Chairman, I don't have anything further to add. And with that, I'm going to make a motion that we sign a resolution as publicly noticed pursuant to Idaho Code 31-1604, 31-1605, fiscal year 2015 budget hearing in Cannon County. And having held public hearing pursuant to Idaho Code 31-1605A, the board hereby resolves to adopt the fiscal year 2015 budget for Canyon County, amount of $79,387,799. That we adopt the pest control district amount of $342,847, and the fiscal year Melba Gopher district amount in the amount of $11,000, as well as signing BL2 for those.
I will second the motion.
Motion and second. Roll call, please.
Yes.
Yes.
Yes, we'll sign those documents, and that will complete the hearing for fiscal year 2015, the budget hearing.